Okay, how y'all doing? Welcome to my channel. This is You Too Can Be Great. This is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season 2 episode 14 review. I didn't do episode 13 review last week because, excuse me, I was too tired and I just missed the date. But this is about to be a review, and those of you who have not yet seen, I posted 2 other videos today. Binge watch it. I did the Love and Hip Hop Family Reunion Season 2 review, and I also did Portia's Family Matters review as well. This is the last one I'm doing today, so go ahead and binge watch and enjoy the show, child, because it's going to be entertaining on all 3 of them. So, brief recap for episode 13 since I didn't do it. We already know that Jen got arrested. We already know that everybody's been talking shit about Jen since she got arrested. And on top of that, we know that Lisa's trying to deliberately detach herself from Jen to make it seem like her and Jen were not really as close, just in case Jen's little friendships kind of get them into lawsuit issues. She ain't about to risk her business for Jen Shah. So she's trying to detach herself in every way that she can. Everybody else that's in front of Lisa's face, Lisa is very blunt, and Lisa lets him know, hey, I don't trust Jen. I don't think what Jen's saying is true. I don't think that she's innocent. But then in front of some other people's faces, she's acting like Jen really is her friend. And in front of her husband, John, she's playing a role like, you know, she didn't shun Jen right when they were in Vail. Like she didn't want to have anything to do with her. Then Jeannie is still on Meredith, saying that Meredith should have never called the private investigator because that's not what a friend does. Heather is on the whole, I'm going to talk crap about Jen and figure out what's going on with her because I'm just being nosy, but I'm still going to be there for her because when I went through my Mormon debacle, I needed people to just come and have my back when I was going through it. So Jen is now has a new number because the previous number apparently was hacked, and that's how she was caught in the first place. So she has a new number. She's now messaging everybody to try and come back and basically try and explain herself and make sure that they at least believe her innocence because she don't want them looking at her like she's a thief and she's been stealing from a bunch of old people. So what Jen did was Jen decided to contact Lisa, and Lisa decided to ignore her calls. Then she decided to contact everybody in the group, and the only person that seems to have reciprocated the communication is Heather, who we all know that Heather is only there because she wants the tea. Okay, so then they go out to lunch, and Jen is now explaining to Heather how everything went down, how the FBI, Homeland Security, all those people showed up at her house, put cuffs on her 15-year-old son, and had an AR-15 pointed at his head. And because of his race, they were like, yo, don't do anything, just comply because we just don't want you to die. And them say that they were threatened for their lives. So she's basically feeling like whatever mistakes that she made in her career or lack thereof is now affecting her children. And it's embarrassing for her to be going through this because she feels like she's innocent along the way. And Heather now asked about Stuart, who Jen has paraded from season 1 in the beginning all through the show about how close they are, how they may be business partners, how he helps her out. But then in this conversation, Jen is almost detaching herself from Stuart. It's almost like Stuart may have used Jen's name to do a lot of janky shit and scamming and stuff like that. He used her name to get that far. The only thing I'm questioning is, what exactly does Jen do for a living? Do you guys know? Because I don't know. I know Lisa Barlow's company is alcohol. I know Heather has the beauty lab. I know we have Whitney doing her own rebranding thing for her own business. I have no idea. And then we know Meredith and her husband have their own businesses. We know Brooks is doing into fashion. I have absolutely no idea what Jen Shah's business is that has her making all this money. She's never been clear about any of the business ventures that she engages in, which begs the question of how you can have known that this would appear in the now. Like, I still don't know what Jen does. Do y'all know? If you know, please explain it to me in the comment because I still haven't figured out what business Jen Shah does. I know that Coach Shah is the coach. We know that. But for her career, don't nobody know what she does. Then we have Whitney talking about her rebranding situation with her husband, talking about how she drained all her savings and how she basically is the Robin of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She's bad with money. And now she has requested $1 million credit limit. And if she doesn't get approved, they have to put a $250,000 down payment to get approved for that so she can push off her business. And she did not discuss this with her husband. What I'm wondering is why you're discussing it with your kid present about your financial woes. That is not something a kid should be privy to. Now, in the midst of this, Obviously, her husband basically is like, listen, you over here already spent all our savings, all the money I'm supposed to leave for my kids. I'm already significantly older than you, so I don't appreciate how this is going. And he's trying to hold his temper. But clearly you can see that he's upset about how Whitney is choosing to spend money in this business venture that she's trying to build. In addition to that, side note, Whitney's husband has also been accused of allegedly doing this whole pyramid scheme stuff. So it's almost like both of them have had money issues. So we don't want to, we seem to have Mary Cosby's situation going on where they question where her money's coming out from, the church funds. Now you got Whitney and her husband's issues financially, and we still don't know what Jen Shah does for a living. So all these money that all these millionaires got, we still don't have a concrete response of how every single one of them are making their dough. Then we have Meredith and Lisa meeting up to ride horses and gossip about Jen. And Meredith basically letting Lisa know that she's still, letting us know that she's still a little bit salty that Lisa chose to maintain a relationship with Jen, knowing all the things that Jen did to her. What I need Meredith to understand is Lisa has a right as an adult to be friends with whomever she chooses. If she's able to compartmentalize her relationships to where she does not disclose your secrets to Jennifer or Jen, and she does not disclose Jen's secrets to you, then Lisa has a right to be friend with Jen. What Meredith seems to be doing on this season of what I'm seeing is she's trying to find a way to oust Jen off the show by saying things like, well, if you're going to invite Jen, don't invite me. Or if you're going to be friends with me, don't be friends with Jen because that's disloyal. Meredith has a personal vendetta against Jen because Jen attacked her son on social media. Now, would I be able to forgive somebody who attacks my baby? No. But Meredith's trying to boot Jen off the show by way of this cliquish thing that she's trying to do is very high schoolish for somebody who always says that she's disengaging. Then we have Lisa basically discussing Jen with Meredith, and Meredith is basically saying that she hated how the last conversation went, that they didn't really give Mary a chance to talk, and that every single one of them are responsible for the dynamic of it. And Lisa don't want to be blamed for nothing. She even brings up Heather Whitney's names and said that she doesn't want to be blamed for nothing, that it's all them. It's them. They're the ones who ruin it. It's their fault. Everything that happens in Lisa Barlow's world that goes wrong is either Whitney or Heather's fault. And so Meredith's trying to say, no, we all have responsibility for how the dynamic of this group is, including myself. She ain't trying to hear it because Lisa don't want to ever be wrong. Then we have Whitney's 20 grand photo shoot that she has now. After she just talked about how she don't have any money. She just spent 20 grand on a photo shoot that we didn't get to see the product of what she's actually selling for the company, which the photo shoot was supposed to be about. Jeannie, on the other hand, who came to witness it, was right. Fire whoever the hell planned this because they're wasting your money. Then Heather shows up as well in support of Whitney. And Whitney now decided to let them know that she contacted Cameron and she was on the phone with him for 3 hours. And if a quarter of the information in the tea that he spilled to her is something that Lisa Barlow is aware of, then that she needs to basically confront her and say, if this is all you know, we need to figure out what we're going to do about Mary, because Mary attacked Whitney and now Whitney's going to go after her where it matters, which is her business, her church, and lets us know that everybody thinks Mary's God and that Mary is now coming off almost like the mafia of all church leaders. Then we got this particular episode I want to discuss is episode 14, What the Fuck? That was just a brief recap for 13. Now for 14, we have Jeannie and Meredith discussing Jeannie's fake sister-wife storyline that has since been proven by a relative that this sister-wife storyline that she's harping on ain't true. And honestly, as irritated as I was when I heard it, something just sounded off. I cannot imagine that somebody will go on national television and be so insensitive towards their wife and say that even though this woman had had 10 or 11 different miscarriages, I'm going to try to force you to get pregnant. If you don't, then we need to get another wife. That entire dynamic seemed too unrealistic to me. It just seemed too cold. Okay, and unless he has no heart, it seemed cold. But now that they just said that this is a fake storyline, I'm gonna accept that it's a fake storyline, because taking the truth, taking the reality that maybe this is what he actually said to her, it just seems too harsh. So Jeannie is mentioning this to Lisa and Meredith about the sister wife thing. And Lisa said, if John asked me for a sister wife, he wouldn't need to be needing a sister wife because he wouldn't even have a first wife. And Lisa said, well, can we find you a brother husband? If he can get another lady, we can get you another dude. And I'm right with her too. If you want to share me, if I have to share you, you're going to have to share me. And then they play sexy dressed up and put on this blonde wig, which Jeannie actually looks very good in that blonde wig. They recorded on her phone, put on a sexy outfit, telling her to take it home and reward her husband. Jeannie said, I'm not reporting a man that wants to get his sister wife in my relationship. Screw that. I'm not wearing nothing sexy for him. Then we get Lisa finally 4 days later meeting up with Jen after she says she's had time to cool off. Jen contacted Lisa as one of the first people that she wanted to talk to once this whole situation, charges and everything came up. She wanted to confide in Lisa, but Lisa made it clear last episode to Meredith that she feels like their friendship is one-sided. Jen wants you to sit there and listen to her and have her confiding you about all the issues. And Jen, in every single scene that she's in, she's always fake crying. So Lisa is like, when it's time for me to now express myself or show my feelings to you, it's not reciprocated, and you talk to me like you were insane. And Jen has a freaking reckless ass mouth, and she needs to be cognizant of who she's speaking to like that, because I would have socked her in the face if she talked to me like she talked to some of these girls. So they're meeting up now. And Jen is letting Lisa know that she's completely innocent, even though nobody's believing her. And Lisa lies and says, I believe you. I want to know that you're innocent. I said, Lisa, you fake. Lisa's two-facedness is so loud. I'm surprised that people have not picked up on it until season 2. Then except for Heather and Whitney. Then we have Lisa saying to Jen that Jen had upset her after the photo shoot based on how she spoke to her on the phone, because she was going off on her when her kids were there in the car. And that was something she was like, I've been calling you frequently for past 9 months. We've been talking for about 3 or 4 hours, which is what Jen had admitted. So for you to speak to me like that because you don't like something that I brought up to you, it's not appropriate. And then it just became a game where Jen and Lisa are arguing with each other on who has more hurt. Okay. And of course, Jen is saying, basically what you're saying right now to me is not as dire as me trying to fight the federal government for charges that could have me away from my family for a very long time. This is the problem that Jen doesn't seem to understand. When you hurt someone, you don't get to decide the gravity of the pain and then decide which pain is much stronger. Because of your situation, not Lisa's fault that you're in trouble with the feds. It's not Lisa's fault that Homeland Security came out your ass. The girl is telling you that she's hurt by what you're doing. And if you're a friend, you're supposed to acknowledge that, not try to minimize whatever it is that she's saying and use your tears to cloud all these little single white people with this miracle white tears that people keep doing. I mean, Jen tries hard with those tears that she keeps pulling. I'm sick of seeing her crying. She's like the Candace of the show, except Candace has her little Kleenex and she's marketing that. Whereas to Jen, I don't know what you marketing. Your eyeballs? I mean, hell. But she is always crying. So they decide to be friends again and get through this and stuff like that. I don't think that Jen actually heard or received Lisa's complaint. I think she was just worried about herself, as usual, selfish. Then we have Sharif and Jen discussing in their home. And Sharif is letting Jen know that they're going to have to downsize their home. That way they can have enough money to be able to pay for these lawyers that looks like they're going to cost almost $2 million for them to fight her case and prove her innocence. Then Jen's concern is more the image thing again. I don't know if I want to downsize because I know that a lot of family members come here. They consider this their home. And I don't want to I'm kind of afraid of downsizing because it'll make me feel like a failure. Bitch, it ain't about you. You have a charge that can land you behind bars for a long time. You better get the smaller house and pay for them damn lawyers to do their job unless you quit crying. And then she lets us know that she's also employing a lot of her family members that came down from South Central, and she's employing them at what's equivalent to $50K a month. Again, what does Jen Shah do for a living to be getting $50K a month to be feeding the whole damn family? I want to know what her job is because I still don't. Then we have Whitney meeting up with Lisa to do paddle work yoga, or in any case, if they get into a fight, toss their ass inside the water. Then Whitney decides to address Vale and talk to Lisa about why it is that when they were all downstairs, Lisa had a lot to say about Mary, right? But then all of a sudden the next day, Mary and everybody's pointing fingers at Whitney as if Whitney's the one who started and was the only one talking shit. And of course, Lisa does the fake thing she always does. She doesn't actually acknowledge to Whitney, hey, look, I'm the one that threw your ass on the bus in front of Mary. I'm the one that told her that you were the one that was running your mouth. Instead, she kind of said, well, we talked about Cameron and we talked about her church. And, you know, Mary says something like, this is what happens to people who come after my church, as in referring to Jen going to jail. But the insinuation that Lisa's making in front of Whitney is almost like Mary had something to do with Jen going to jail. Then, and on top of that, then Whitney's feeding into this saying, you know what, talking to Cameron, the impression we got was that Mary and Robert are like cult leaders and they use God to guilt people into getting what they want. They are victimizing people. Producers asked Whitney, hey girl, are you comfortable repeating some of the stuff that you were told? Whitney said, no. From what I heard, if it's true, I'm afraid for my family. I'm not going to put it out there and put my family at risk. It makes Mary and Robert look like they are above the law. Like there's some like American gangster type title, like maybe like the Italian mob or some shit, or like the Gambino. I don't know, like the main this crew that even though maybe they pay people off in the police department that they can do whatever they want, there's no repercussions. Why is everybody so goddamn afraid of skinny ass Mary? I don't understand. But apparently in Utah, you're going to be scared of Mary. You know, I'm like, Mary, I don't know. I still don't understand. But Whitney is putting it out there as if Mary and Robert have a lot of power and pull to where they can just make a family disappear. That's just, to me, that's a reach. But they're discussing this. And her and Lisa talk about barely. Lisa's still wondering why Whitney would go and contact Cameron, even though Cameron doesn't really have a friendship with her. But I guarantee you that Lisa's going to go to Mary, take this message to Mary and make it seem like Whitney contacted somebody that she's friends with, as if Whitney's the culprit. She's not going to take responsibility for the fact that the only reason that Whitney even knows anything about Cameron is because she brought Cameron into the mix when Lisa knew all the stuff that Cameron had told her in the past prior to inviting him to that event and having him disclose what he disclosed to Meredith at a freaking party. Either Lisa's the one playing a game or Cameron is the one playing a game, but both of y'all messy as hell. Then we have Jeannie's fall luncheon that she's been planning because she wanted to basically get everybody to understand the Vietnamese culture by having them come out to this international peace garden park to where they're going to sit there. They're going to eat Vietnamese food. They're going to talk. And it's going to be them discussing things like kind of like a round table to have some kind of peace, to kind of considering that the meeting they had with Mary last time, the unveil didn't go so well. They're supposed to be like a redo, okay? She said in the Vietnamese culture, when things go wrong, everybody sits around the table and discuss it and hash it out, and everybody listens to each other, right? So she's trying to recreate that cultural thing in this Pho Peace Garden meeting. So we got Lisa and Meredith who show up first. Then all of a sudden, as they're talking, you see Heather, Jen, and Whitney showing up. And of course, Meredith immediately turns to Jeannie and said, did you not understand what I expressed the last time that we met, that we had this meeting in Vail? I said I did not want you to invite me anywhere that Jen is going to be. And Jeannie explains to her, like, this is supposed to be a peaceful thing. So if there's a way that we can come down to peace, she needs to be here, and so do you. And Meredith said, you know what? I'm not going to leave because Jen's here, but at the same time, I'm not going to engage her. We're not going to be kumbaya. I can still stay in the same space with Jen and be okay. Well, if that's the case, then why would you not want to be invited with Jen being there? Well, I mean, Meredith, you're confusing the hell out of me at this point. Then we have Mary, who shows up extra late after they already started eating by herself, and she joins the table, but the tension there in the table is so palpable. Everybody's pretending that they're all kumbaya-ing all the stuff that Heather had told Jen, that Lisa said about her, Mary said about her, how Mary doesn't want anything to do with her, all the stuff, the trash talking that we're doing, trying to figure out what Jen's doing, if her business is flawed, what they've heard. Everybody's pretending like all that didn't happen and smiling, kikiing in Jen's face. So Mary shows up, And she goes and gives Jen a hug. The person that she was so disgusted by being compared to is one of the first persons she goes and hugs and smiles in her face, number one. Number two, when they were talking about Mary's blonde wig, because Mary has gone blonde, they brought up the whole Jeannie situation and her being blonde. They show her the video. Mary says another racist shit that she does in every episode. She says, "Ooh, I like your slanted eyes." I don't think that Mary knows that she black. I think that Mary acts like the oblivious black person that doesn't know that they are actually racist. And let me say what I mean. There's different types of racism. There's racism that's loud in your face. People walk around calling the N-word, using the B word for Hispanics, using all these other crazy words and stuff like that. And then there's racists who are racist, but either are in denial or they genuinely don't know that they are racist. Mary is a racist that does not know that she's racist because she makes certain comments and she has no concept of how it comes out. She'll say things like, "You're comparing me with Jen, who's basically like the cartel, those Mexicans that bring drugs into this country." Then you ask, in the first season, it was, "I don't like going to a gas station with a bunch of black people there because it just scares me." Okay. That little idea that a bunch of black men, you got to cross the street because you'll be, they'll do something to you, whatever, because you're that important. Now she's sitting here and the first thing she says about Jeannie, who's also Asian, is, "Oh, I love your slanted eyes." I cannot with Mary. I mean, either she's one of the dumbest smart person ever, or she really doesn't know that she's just racist and she doesn't know she's black. Maybe with the blonde wig, she decided to be blonde that day. But Whitney then is whispering to Jen and she says that she likes how everyone is being so fake and how everybody's kikiing. And Mary calls her out and says, "What do you mean by everybody's being fake? Are talking shit now?" And she said, "Well, you guys we're talking shit before, now you're smiling in her face instead of talking about it." And Jeannie now says, "Yes, I know this is kind of like a fake situation. We're supposed to be talking about things and hashing things out. Why everybody, now that Jen is in your face, pretending like you didn't say what you said or you didn't behave the way that you behaved while Jen was over there with the FBI and Stuart trying to fight for her life with words." Then Mary's giving her all sorts of compliment. "Girl, I like your clothes that you were wearing when you got arrested. I didn't think you stayed in cell block D because you look beautiful. When you coming out, you were dressed with your boots. You had your braid on, child. You look great while you were being arrested." Then Jen says to everybody in the table that she did not know a thing about this entire federal charges, whatever, that all these investigations. She had no idea. She was completely oblivious about this going on, and that the people that they were questioning her about, she had never heard of. Now, the thing about it is, if you're running a business like the one that they said Jen, because the whole charges, if you guys haven't seen the documentary, is based on, they saying that Jen has this particular business, and the business is selling people's information. If you guys are on the internet, and if you go nowadays, if you're on the internet, you go to a website, there's something that comes up that says accept cookies or decline cookies. And if you click on some of them to explain to you exactly what that means, you will see instructions on there saying, "Do not sell my information or sell my information." I know that Yahoo will limit some of the social media things that you can usually see. Like if they have an article and there's a Twitter message on there, or there's something that's screenshotted on there, like a link to Instagram or whatever. If you don't accept cookies, they will not allow you to see that link. So you have to accept cookies, which gives them permission to sell your personal information to marketers and telemarketers or people that are on the internet, data analysts and data scientists who are able to sit there and look at the type of things that interest you and try to advertise things to you, whether it's via email. This is a way of them marketing themselves now in this digital age. So with Jen saying that she doesn't know any of these women, the job that apparently she's accused of is selling information of a lot of old people. And these old people who don't know anything about technology, who don't understand marketing, who don't know pyramid schemes because they're from a different generation, are the people that we're targeting. They would sell their information, and then you have all these companies coming in, basically telling them all these little get rich quick schemes. They'll pay into it and they'll put their credit cards in, and their credit cards will be being charged every month on something that they're investing in, but the investments will never come through. And they'll lose, by the time they realize what's happening, they've lost like $10,000. They've lost $15,000. And this is how they've been making their money off these people. They just get it, sell it. And, but Jen is saying that she didn't recognize any of these people, but you're not supposed to recognize them. They're not your friends. They're people that you would have sold stuff to, which are customers. You don't keep names of customers. So Jen is saying that she had no clue as to how this is going on. She did tell Heather during their previous beginning luncheon that when she walked in and the feds were trying to question her, she looked at Stuart and Stuart said, "I'm sorry." But is she trying to insinuate that maybe Stuart was the genius in all of this? But I hate to think, it doesn't make any sense to me that Stuart was doing all these things with Jen's name attached to it and she had no clue. Or maybe when he told her about the situation, he told it to her in a light, and she didn't think to go and research it herself because she trusted Stuart. There's two ways to look at this. But either way, it seems like Stuart might be one of the main person who created and manufactured the scheme that targeted all these people that were just innocent and not really, there were people that just didn't know what to do. They were just thinking that somebody was there to help them. Then Jen is talking to Mary about it, and Mary's obviously not believing her. Mary's like, "So you tell me you knew nothing? You had no idea? She asked her in 10,000 ways, 'Are you sure?' And Jen kept saying, 'No, until the waterworks came. And of course, Mary don't believe her. Nobody at that table believes her. I don't even care what Lisa said. They don't believe that Jen is innocent. They believe that she had some hand in this. Or even if she didn't physically do it herself, she permitted it to happen and she didn't stop it because she was making money. So there's several ways to look at this dynamic and what occurred. Then we have Jeannie and everybody now talking about what they were doing while Jen was being questioned. And Jeannie and Lisa throw Whitney under the bus and said that Whitney was the one texting everybody. Whitney's like, "It wasn't just me. Heather was like, I was Googling stuff left and right. I wanted to know." And then Lisa's like, "We were all texting." Everybody's now running their mouth and basically putting their 2 cents in. Meredith is staying quiet. And then Mary opens her mouth and says, I never said anything about you, Jen." And the best it produces flashed back to Vale, with Mary saying word for word, "I never thought there was anything good in Jen. I don't want to be associated with Jen. I think she did it. She was targeting old people." Mary had a lot of shit to say about Jen, but now she's fixing her mouth like she got short-term memory loss, saying that she said nothing bad about Jen. And while they're all arguing and saying, "Mary, you are bull-faced lying right now," then Jen is sitting up there listening to them arguing about who did the worst stuff or who said the worst stuff about her while she's gone. Jen, look around. This is the impression that everybody has of you, is that they don't have anything nice to say about you. And when you're accused of something, their instincts is to believe that you did it. It's no way to spin around it. Then Jeannie now decides to confront Mary and say, "Mary, you are lying through your damn teeth because you were the one. I was sitting right next to you. You had a lot to say about Jen. Now you're going to sit up here and say you didn't say anything." So Jeannie is calling Mary out and also calling Mary a liar because you're now lying. Mary swears up and down she ain't lying. And in the midst of their argument, Mary's arguing with Jeannie. Jeannie says, "I don't care about you." And Mary says, "Look at me," and say that again. She goes, "I don't care about you." Jeannie basically is letting Mary know that there's nothing about Mary that intimidates her like Mary does with Whitney and all the other girls, right? Jeannie's like, "I will fight you just like whatever. You don't intimidate me. I don't care about you." And Mary's like, "Well, then why am I here?" Jeannie says, "You can leave." So Mary gets up to leave and she's walking out. Meredith sees her chance. This is her chance to get up and escape. So she gets up and she leaves. And as she's walking away, you got Lisa chasing after Meredith because obviously she feels some type of way. And you got Mary and Meredith talking about, how it's almost like Lisa's jealous of Mary and Meredith's relationship, which is probably why she's targeting Mary now. Because she said that she's had a 10-year friendship with Meredith, and it seems like Meredith is so quick to defend everybody else, but she's not defending Lisa as much. But I also get the feeling that Meredith is also talking to Mary, and Mary's letting her know that Lisa is very two-faced. And now that Meredith is gradually seeing the little fibs that Lisa's doing, because Lisa also tried to wash her hands of the situation like she didn't do anything wrong, and Meredith is calling her out on it, and Lisa is yelling like, "Don't pay me that way, la 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 la." Meredith's like, "I don't have time for this nonsense. You're nobody be sitting up here yelling at me." So she's getting up and walking away. Jen is getting up and walking away. Mary is in front of Jen's face talking about, "I'm your friend. I said I'll be your friend." I said, Bitch, Mary, you're lying. Okay, you're sitting up here talking to her face, talking about you want to be friends and you want to be supportive, but you are in the back of her soul. Mary is wishing that Jen is guilty and Jen is charged. You can't tell me different. And on the other side, you have Lisa and Meredith now fighting, and Heather going, Mom and Dad are fighting. What are we gonna do? And Meredith is saying, Lisa, you're gonna have to stop yelling at me. And then Lisa starts crying. And then asks Meredith to stay at the table because she feels safer with her there. I.e., I want you to stay here and be uncomfortable for me, because Meredith don't want to be around Jen. And then while Jen and Mary are having a conversation on the side, Mary slips up and says, I pray that you're guilty. No, I don't even know why I said that. I pray that you're innocent. Mary spoke the truth the first time, girl. She prays you're guilty. I don't know why Jen is even sitting here confiding in Mary. Mary does not believe a word you're saying. Mary does not think that you're innocent at all. And Mary is sitting up here putting on a face because in the front because she wants to know the tea. That's all. Jen, Mary will never be your friend. I don't care. Mary had a lot to say, and she looks at your spirit as completely corrupt. Okay? I'm curious about how Jen is going to react in the reunion once she sees this scene's playing out and how the girls are lying and Lisa's behavior and all this other stuff that she was doing behind her back. I'm curious about how Jen is going to handle it, because Jen is she got a rude awakening. She's going to see a lot of things she don't want to see. And then Meredith and decided to come back. Meredith came back to be protect Lisa and her, feeling safer, to defend her, all that nonsense. We got Mary, who was supposed to be leaving, now walking back with Jen to the table. And then we have all the other girls sitting down talking about it. And then when Mary and Jen came back to the table, Jen decides to cry again and tell them that she feels like she's innocent and she's just waiting for things to pan out, but that this is something that's happening in her life that's extremely major. She didn't expect, she didn't anticipate it. And then Heather says, you got people in your corner, girl. And Mary says, I wouldn't say that. Mary, oh my God, Mary is good for TV. That's what I'm saying. Mary is very good for TV. I would say that part. She's very good for TV. She says the right things to keep her coins going. Is she legitimately believing Jen? No. Does Meredith believe that Jen is innocent? No. Does Lisa believe that Jen is innocent? No. They already asked Heather if she thinks Jen is innocent. She goes, I hope she is. Whitney is not believing that Jen's innocent at all, but Whitney is sympathetic to the trauma of having to face charges and possibly losing your house, losing your family, and going to federal prison. That is something that is scary. And Jen, of course, doesn't want to have to go through that. So that concern is there in general as a general human emotion that you exhibit when somebody's hurting. But do they believe in Jen's innocent entirely? No. Jeannie doesn't know Jen as well, so she is not able to speak on it. But Jeannie is checking everybody in their truth, because they were going to sit there and lie and say they didn't say nothing. So that is where this episode ended. The next episode, we are going to see officially Meredith and Lisa's relationship and their friendship breaking down. I do feel like Meredith has a lot of resentment towards Lisa for choosing to remain friends with Jen. That is something that bothers her, and she's going to bully Lisa into not being friends with Jen, or she's going to now disengage with Lisa as well. At some point, Jeannie's going to throw a glass at Mary for being fake, because Mary is being fake as well. And Mary is also going to confront Lisa and tell her that she comes off as two-faced. And it's just going to be a lot going on. So I can't wait till the episodes come in. I'm personally just wanting for the reunion to get here, because the reunion is going to be lit. I want to see what everybody's going to say to each other once they've seen so much of what we're seeing as the viewers. Anyway, that's the end of this review. Go ahead and check out my, like I said, Portia's Family Matters is up. I already did the review, and so is Love and Hip Hop Family Reunion. Both are just as entertaining. Go check those out. You guys have a good rest of your night. Bye.